This is Kreskin, and I am sharing with you what's on your mind, because the questions and the anecdotes and the themes that you folks have sent in have fascinated me and triggered off very important memories for yours truly. The one I just received is from Donald McHale. It was on YouTube, and the question is simply, Kreskin, in your lifetime, who was the smartest man you've ever either met, talked to, heard about from the newspapers or on television? And that is a question which, in all honesty, I cannot possibly answer, because I've met hundreds, if not thousands of people, and many of them have left a tremendous impression upon me. Let me pick one of the most dynamic figures of my life. I cannot think of anyone else who quite compares with him. He was from a special world, a special way of life, and will stand out as one of the most valuable figures that has ever influenced me. He had his own television series, and it was once a week. It was unscripted, and he simply talked about the critically challenging elements of daily life. And I'm speaking of Bishop Fulton J. Sheen, who was a renowned Catholic priest that was revered by friends of mine who were Jewish, from other walks of life. There were those who were atheists, and yes, there were those who were Catholic. But we all listened to him and watched him because of the incredible outlook and perspective that he had over challenging situations. But I've had a blessing, and it's an extra blessing, because he became a very close and special friend in my life. He had a tremendous sense of humor. As a matter of fact, I can share it with you now, but it was one of his favorite anecdotes when he found out that my family thought, believe it or not, and don't shake and don't bless yourselves or don't rush to beg forgiveness, but many of my family thought that I had planned to become a Catholic priest. I knew what I wanted to do for a living when I was 5 years old, and the performances and the appearances is my fulfillment in life. But I also had a tremendous religious interest and would attend Mass and church services and what have you. But when Bishop Sheen found this out, once in a while he and I would be appearing in person for a special event. And while I would be performing and demonstrating my abilities and thought reading, he inevitably would come forth with a very, very dynamic talk on a variety of different topics. But he said, you know, it was thought by a number of Kreskin's family that he could become a priest, and many thought this is the case. Now, imagine Saturday, and the church is not full because there's no Mass, but it's in the early evening, and all the teenagers are preparing for the first Holy Communion, which is the next day. Now, Father Kreskin, who is hearing some of the confessions, is in his own private booth, and one of the nuns points a certain person out and says, you're next, you go see Father Kreskin. And in walks Johnny, and the door's closed, and it's dark, and you can hear that panel opening, slowly opening, because even though you couldn't see who was there, you knew who was there. And the person attending knew it was Father Kreskin. And Johnny says, bless me, Father. for I have sinned. And Father Kreskin says, tell me your sins, young man. And Johnny says, Father, I lied to my mother 4 times. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Father Kreskin interrupts and says, that's not true, Johnny. It was 10 times, and you know it. Sheen had a tremendous sense of humor.